What's up, you guys? Welcome to GRYD, the Mindset Podcast. I'm your host, Brock Eissman, sports psychologist, outdoorsman, and the founder of Off the Grid Therapy. This podcast is built for the hardworking men and women who are looking to prioritize their mental, physical, and spiritual health so they can be the best for their family, friends, coworkers, and community. We're here to talk mental health, performance, psychology, outdoors, sports, and the pursuit of something bigger than ourselves. Let's get after it. Enjoy the show.
Trying to fight a war, but I lose myself. What is living for if I burn in hell?
Okay, so today I wanted to open up with something personal. Something that I've been through and currently am going through each and every single day. There's this poem that I wrote, and I'm going to read it to you guys. Lately, I've been feeling that strange pull. The space between who I was and who I'm trying to become. It's messy. It's uncomfortable. And honestly, I hate it. Maybe hate isn't the right word. If only I could name it. This feeling that I have, the unknown. Like climbing a mountain at dusk. It's not dark enough to stop, but not light enough to see clearly. Just in between. The craziest part, life isn't going to just pause for something inside me to just catch up. I still have to show up, be present, provide, lead, suit up like I'm all good when I know that I'm not. But maybe this is the work in the middle, that space between, and this tension in my chest and the restlessness in my mind. Is it pulling me for something ahead? Preparing me for something that I cannot clearly see? So maybe that's okay. Maybe this in-between is necessary. Right here, right now. Maybe it's the shaping, and I'm learning to trust the space between. All right. So that poem was called The Space Between. And I wrote it because I realized something. Every single person that I work with, in some version or the other, is in that season of being in between. That strange pull, that tension between who you were and who you're trying to become. It's messy, it's uncomfortable. And honestly, sometimes it feels like you're failing at holding it all together. So today I want to break this down, not just mentally, but psychologically, physiologically. These are the things that I would like to point out on that space and why it feels so heavy, why it's actually necessary. And what you can do while listening to this, when you're standing in that space between no longer and that space between not yet. Okay, so those are two different types of people. I'm no longer this person, but I'm also not yet this person. That's clearly what I'm trying to point out through what I wrote, right? And a lot of us are in that. So I first want to break down my perspective on the psychology of the in-between. What our brains actually do during all of this. So firstly, psychologists, they have a name for this. It's called identity disequilibrium. And with identity disequilibrium, there's basically a gap between your old identity and the new one. And that gap, our brains hate, okay? So your brain hates this gap. That old version of you isn't fully gone. The new version of you isn't fully yet built. And what our mind does is it fires up all these things of like uncertainty, anxiety, restlessness, that tightness in your chest that you feel, kind of what I was writing about, that feeling like, what is happening to me? There's another piece to it. Uncertainty isn't the part of the brain it is part of the brain. And the part of the brain that it's affecting is your amygdala. And your amygdala, think of your amygdala, it's our brain's threat center. And it literally grows. Like I remember reading research studies when I was in school on the amygdala growing for people that had like PTSD and had jobs like first responders, military. Their amygdalas actually grow, which is pretty crazy. So this part of the brain, that's what is being triggered, is your amygdala. So even if you're growing and this is something that is good, even if the change is positive and it's for good, the brain interprets this as danger. It's like danger, danger, right? That's why this space between feels like, in the poem, climbing a mountain at dusk. Not dark enough to stop, but not light enough to feel confident. Just in between. This is also referred to as liminality. Liminality, right? The in-between of every rite of passage throughout human history. Liminality. There's this separation, or the middle, and the return as a transformed and a new person. Liminality. And what's wild is the transformation never happens like in comfort. Like it's always happened in the middle. The messy, uncomfortable, frustrating part. The part that we all try and rush through and get through. I know I have done this. Yet we know that the answer has to be patience. I refer to myself as a patient person, but I have to remind myself this constantly. When I'm going through this middle, I know that the answer is patience, but we always try, in the control portion of this, try and rush through this, try and get it done as quickly as possible. So if you're listening to this on your drive or your walk or while completing whatever task is right in front of you, and you're in that space where life feels foggy or clouded, you're not behind. You're not broken. You're not doing it all wrong. I want you to know that you're just in the middle, okay? You're being reshaped. Your internal world is trying to catch up to external changes around you. This is not a setback. It's signaling a shift. And that shift is happening because of what you are becoming. That's the focus here. It's who you are becoming. And I want to throw some practical tools in here. And I wrote down 3 tools that I wanted to talk about. And in these 3 tools, obviously they're along the genre and backed in the psych and performance science world. But tool number 1, I want you to name the season. Research from UCLA shows that when you name an emotion or a season, your amygdala activity actually drops. So the amygdala, that part of the brain that we talked about earlier, the activity in there actually drops if you can name it. And naming the season is specifically what these guys studied. So maybe your season can be like, for example, the rebuilding season or the preparation season or the refining season. If you can name it, you can navigate it. So do just that, okay? Name your season that you're currently in and get your amygdala to chill out, okay? That amygdala needs to chill out. So back to the tool. If you want to take this and use it, name the season that you are in so that you can clearly look at it and be like, this is where I'm at. I actually had a situation the other day with a guy that was in my office, and I asked him, hey, what season are you in right now? And he, if he's going to listen to this, he's going to laugh. But I was like, what season are you? He's like, the 12th season. I'm like, 12th season? He's like, yeah, professional baseball player. Like, I'm in my 12th season. And then he came back with, and I can't necessarily remember what it was, but it was something in line with, it's my rehab season. I'm rehabilitating an injury. And then 4 or 5 hours later, goes out and does all of his workouts, and I see him again, and it was just so sick because he was like, thanks, man. Like, I really appreciate that. Just naming his season, like every single thing that he did for those next 4 or 5 hours, he had that one word. It was like, this is my season. And all the heartache that's gone into like rehabbing and overcoming and dealing with injury from what he was doing, like it was just as simple for that day to name the season that he was in. and to be like, this is my season. So that's tool number 1. Tool number 2, I want you to narrow your focus to what you can actually influence today. So when the future feels blurry, our brains, obviously, they spiral. I want you to narrow your focus down to something that you can actually do today, so your mind gets stabilized. Okay, so it gets balanced. Make sure it's realistic and make sure it's actionable. Yes. This builds the self-efficacy that our brain desires, that our brain really needs, because everything with our brain's understanding of self-efficacy with ourselves, that's the number one predictor for long-term performance. And I talk about that all the time. But being able to trust yourself and understand that you can trust your brain, super important, right? That's long-term performance. So for this tool, I want you to ask yourself this: what is one action today that aligns with the person that I'm becoming? Okay, write that down. What is one action today that aligns with the person that I'm becoming? Not 10, just 1. And for my overachievers here, I really want you to, if you are going to do more than 1 throughout the day, do no more than 3. Okay. So what is one action today that aligns with the person that I'm becoming? You can write that 3 different times, but no more than 3. Okay. You're already a high achiever if you do 3 of them. You'll also see that in the journal. That's literally how the journal Think Do is set up. I give you 3 things that you can write down that are actionable for today. Okay, so tool number 3. This is more of a journal entry that I want you to work through. So bear with me. Understand that discomfort is turning into neuroplasticity in your brain. So the discomfort that I have, that equals neuroplasticity. We got that? And this one's huge, okay? Neuroscience, it shows us that your brain rewires itself the most during challenge and uncertainty. And that's not during easy things. That's not during routine. That tension that you feel in your chest, it's your brain adapting. It's growing. It's reforming. It's rewiring. And discomfort, that's not a sign to stop. Okay. It's simply evidence that your system is rewiring itself. Okay. So that's more, like I said, of a journal entry. So talk about with yourself, my brain's just rewiring. That's why it doesn't feel good. That's why it doesn't feel like something that I can do or comfortable. That's where that anxiety comes from. So understand that that's the growing portion. That's the rewiring. That's the reforming going on inside of your brain. Okay. So maybe like I wrote, the space between in that poem, maybe it's actually necessary. Maybe the discomfort isn't punishment, but preparation. Maybe you're not supposed to see everything clearly right now. Maybe we're being shaped in ways that will make sense later down the road. Wherever you are, wherever you're at, I want you to understand that this in-between season, it's not you stuck. You're actually becoming, okay? And we got work to do. So let's get after it. If this added any value to your life, please hit the follow, subscribe, leave a quick review, and share it with someone who needs to hear it. If you're looking for one-on-ones with me, the link is in the show notes, or check out one of the upcoming trips at Off the Grid Therapy. It's also in the show notes. Keep showing up, keep finding your why, and I'll see you on the next one.
Trying to find me.